the cell phone technology, the shoes on your feet. You talk about the AC in this particular room invented by a black man. If you came to the elevator, that's a black man. So we just going all down the list. If you iron your clothes as a black woman, if you had an ironing board as a black woman, if you had a baby carriage as a black woman, if you had an ice cream today, that was a black man. If you had an ice cream scoop, that was a right. Think about all the things we can run down. Now I ask you to stop and ask the question: how many things have Europeans invented that have made your life better today? And y'all still ain't saying nothing. Right? And this is not arrogance. I want you to catch this, because if we do not stop and honor our legacy of greatness, then we cannot move into the future. Samisha was trying to tell us that if you don't stop right now and engage in some self-love and say, wait a minute, I come from a powerful generation of people. I am the seed of a 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 seed of these seed. I'm walking with all of that greatness inside of me. So you can't come and call me anything other than what? Great, because that's what I am. If that is black identity extremism, then we're going to have to get down. Amen. Because I know who I am. The film had so many rich moments to it. I don't want to talk about that. I just want to share this idea of the enslavement and terrorism and how men were stripped of their pride and respect themselves, which deals with this idea of humiliation. This is what Dr. W.B. Du Bois shared with us and was mentioned earlier, was about the MAAT. See, we started from a place of wholeness. MAAT. You did, and thank y'all for the Africentric focus group. Give them applause. So MAAT standing for truth and justice and harmony, propriety, balance, and order, right? Catch this right here, that you do not even have an American judicial system without the principles, the concept of MAAT. Really? And MAAT comes out of where? Africa, or something called ancient Kemet. Y'all get that? That there were seven values, and that your particular soul had to be weighed against that particular on a scale of MAAT to be able to transcend into the higher space, and which is where the Europeans get blind justice from, and the scales of justice. It actually is an African phenomenon. I want you to catch that. So make sure that in the school that you teach that. I know you do, so I ain't worried about that. I'm just saying, so that children know that blind justice is the thing that. Remember I said about African humanity? And about how we greet people, teach people how to do that, because it already exists. So you got to keep reminding yourself to be something that you're not, when you got to keep putting laws and rules out there to say that you got to do it like a certain way. As long as they're stuck. Because when you are governing yourself in a certain way that is human, you don't have to have a law to remind you of how to function. Think about how so MAAT was about, here is what you need to do. You do not take from children. And then there was the MAAT, the fragmentation, and now we're in a Sankofa moment. Remember that you can never break something without it coming back and regenerating. The first thing that happens is that when you have some fires, you have vegetation that begins to grow back. We are in a renewal. The MAAT is a great suffering of African people, right, at the hands of Europeans. The MAAT forced an abusive lifestyle, forced geographical dislocation, and forced labor, and also not the right of humanity. Woodson talked about when you control a man's thinking, there is an issue of a violent society that black people live in continually. The issue of the trauma is real. There was mentioned earlier about the variety of elements of the trauma. Some people say, I have a hard time looking at this. I want to be clear about something. Is that this is a fundamental function of the truth. And I have to stop and examine this from a place of truth. What kind of people would actually annihilate somebody, gather around those people, and then take pictures with that person that they have annihilated? And then we want to talk about the issue of humanity. Somehow I'm just as good as they are. Well, that doesn't seem to be good behavior. And I don't mean good as that. I want to be much better. This sister here was lynched because she was protecting her son. Her son had been accused of stealing some bread, and so. But before she was lynched, she was raped by over 100 men. If the punishment for crime for aiding and abetting a criminal is lynching, then where does the rape come in? Right. This brother here was dressed properly, right? So it wasn't his clothes. he was lynched. Here we have, again, a gathering of individuals looking at a process, and then they took a picture of this. And this is outside of a church, by the way. So I want to be clear that it happens on multiple levels. These were used as postcards for individuals who came to visit the South. So he said, look at where I am right now. I'm in Louisiana. And they would send these postcards. What kind of people would celebrate the eradication of another population in this particular manner? Think about that. Thank you. And this is what we've been dealing with for a long time. Is trying to understand what kind of person are you? When I was studying in South Africa and I came up with these terms and I said, can Afrikaners have these concepts like Abapanda Basipulitele, which is the withdrawal of ancestral protection? And they said, no, they can't have these disorders because these belong to the Zulu. You have to be human to have these disorders, right? Think about what that means. That when Muddeer, others would go and work and they come back and say, them folks is crazy.
That's right.
Right? It wasn't a racist statement. It was there's a different worldview and an order. We must be aware of that. And even today, if you mention that, it becomes, oh, that's racist. It's not racist, it's real. It's something that is not quite the same as it relates to being human. Do you all know how we can talk and not say a word to one another?
Yeah. Right.
Right? You know, we can. You know what I'm saying? And I said a whole lot. Right? And it was a slight move. Because we don't do this one. It's like, right? They're going around the room. You all right? Right? It's automatic. I tried it in Barbados. Got it back. I said, whoa, okay. Right? Communication is deep. Complex PTSD, they want to say that we have, is that the process by which you have something over a period of time. In South Africa, they talked about continuous traumatic stress disorder, which means that after the anti-apartheid movement, the person says that having been introduced to stress over a period of time caused certain things. Some talk about post-traumatic slavery disorder. Some talk about post-slavery stress disorder. Some talk about post-traumatic slave syndrome. Some even talk about anti-alien self-disorder. One of my mentors, is Dr. Naeem Akbar. But we want to talk about, pause for a moment, on post-traumatic slave syndrome because it's getting a lot of attention. And so it is the theory says that African Americans sustain traumatic psychological emotional injury as a direct result of slavery and continue to be injured by the trauma caused by larger societies today. Now, here's the issue. The issue is that if there's a thing called race-based trauma stress by Carter, racism, racial discrimination, harassment, and then if there is an issue of it being continual, then how can it be post? Post means that it has already occurred. See, sometimes we use, again, sanitized Eurocentric language to describe an African phenomenon, and we miss the mark every single time, right? So we don't have to use post. It is an issue of, it is persistent, not post, right? It's persistent enslavement, systemic trauma. It is ongoing, protracted trauma meted against the people, right? And it is psychological devastation, spiritual disruption, emotional destabilization, economic disinheritance, political disenfranchisement. All this is going on at one time. So this is why we don't start with the issue of post, because we're not allowing anybody to define for us what it is. We're going to say that it is something that is ongoing. Blacks are out of control of the elements of the institutional and structural racism. Experiences of race-based trauma leaves one feeling vulnerable. The ongoing trauma has its impact subconsciously. We say certain things all the time about, for example, good hair. Who told you that it was good hair in the first place? Or bad hair? My dad used to sing to me, ooh, your hair is nappy, who's your pappy? You some money child, right? And so we hear that, and he would comb my hair, and he would, all right. So don't laugh, but that was, okay. Some people know I used to have locks. And nobody read right. Thank you very much. Y'all don't believe that, but I had locks down the head. That's right. That was no imagination. And so I asked the question, where did he get that message from? And somehow it was passed down. This issue about my hair being derogatory, right? Who said it was bad hair? We pass on the trauma every single day. Who said that there's a thing called fair skin or unfair skin? Because you have fair skin, you got to have unfair skin. That's right. Oh, you fair-skinned. Well, show me the unfair skin, and then we can call it a day, right? And so these things are remind us of the elements of trauma that we still exist under, right? The individual racism is an ongoing trauma. It's sometimes about the hood disease. Some want to say that it's a function of the hood. The CDC was saying that blacks have a disease because they suffer from trauma coming out of the hood. Really? Some people talk about what's the genetics. Well, I said, well, if it's genetics, then we ought to be able to go to the Congo, where a lot of blacks, Africans came from, and see crime there. Well, the crime rate was not the same as it is in the United States, right? So we talk about the crime rate per capita in the United States is through the roof. In the Republic of Congo, it's 33 per 100,000. Angola, 100 per 100,000. Senegal, it's low, so it's not high among African people. So where is this criminality coming from, right? Well, one thing that people can do is that they can take some laws they have on the books and then begin to impose them on the people's existence, and then say that you're going to suffer in the prison industrial complex, right? So one picture here shows what individual wearing his pants sagging. Pause for a moment. I'm not advocating sagging at all, right? I think underwear is just what it is, underwear. Okay. But follow me on that one. Brother Ali, follow me on that one. Okay. But I do understand who is more likely to have their pants sagging, and maybe for what reason they may be having it sag, right? Because if you said earlier that some say that there's no example of manhood before them, and that their future looks bleak, maybe they're trying to tell somebody what they can kiss along the way in life. I don't know, but my point is this, right? my point is that they have taken laws, and they said that here you get a warning. Your pants sagging at this level is called disorderly conduct, and then if it's sagging to the point where the crack of your behind is showing, it's called indecent exposure. I used to see the plumber come to the house all the time, right? Matter of fact, there was a man by the house facing the washroom. I'm trying to tell you, he was leaning, right? And all this was happening. There was no law in the books for that. So there's this trickery, this switch that goes on. So you see right here, you see these two men engaged in the process of fixing their car. If you go back over here, they would be engaged in disorderly conduct if they were in Flint, Michigan, punishable by law. But really, they're trying to fix this particular vehicle. Maybe they're trying to go help. Because obviously, there's some, as a woman right here, I would suspect that maybe this may be even her car, or somebody that she knows. These brothers are trying to help. But if the police drove by, they would be slapped with a warrant of disorderly conduct. There's never been any particular law in the books that has said that this was somehow out of order. I want to back up again so you can catch this, right? So if this exposure is here, then what is this called? Yeah, you can have a business called Hooters, and this is what you can do. So is it genetics? Is it the hood? No, it's something else. And it's called racism, which is a part of the traumatic experience that we exist under today. So I want you to catch some of that information, understand that the process, and deal with the issue of humanity and how do we return black. Now, there are a lot of concepts that exist. And so today is about corporate economics, about Ujima. Among the Bantu, talk about Ubuntu, which is the idea that your humanity is tied to my humanity, that we're going to be human together. Ubuntu. The main word that we use in the South is y'all, right? Right? How y'all doing? It's not how are you, how y'all, right? Y'all means a collective identity. So you, Ubuntu means, say Ubuntu. Ubuntu means you being into you unifying life force. And so it says that whatever you do in your space impacts me in my space. Desmond Tutu says that when somebody is human, you know who they are because they speak, they're hospitable, and they have resilience. Among many African languages, it is called Umuntu, Umuntu, Bamuntu, Bamuntu, Bamoto, Jimoto, Jamuntu. You hear it all over again. It's the same thing about collective identity. It is a part of the African worldview. African values means that human beingness is characterized by caring, sharing, compassion, and communalism. It is a communocracy that is related. Jomo Kenyatta says nobody's isolated within the context of African reality. That you're not unique. Your uniqueness is not celebrated. That you don't have any meaning outside of the idea of collectivity. Right? Let me say it this way. My students come into the classroom. They said, I asked them a question. I said, was I a teacher before y'all got here? They said, yeah, you were a teacher. I said, no, it's not possible. I cannot be a teacher if there are no students. That's right. The same thing that if you all are in this classroom and I'm not here, then you're not students, right? The idea that I have meaning in the context of the collective, right? That is an African reality. The Western reality says that I have meaning because I am who I am. But we suggest that we have meaning in the context of the community. The communal existence is the highest order. Some of y'all might get this one. Okay, so check this one out. Don't go to sleep on me. Stay right here with me. I was raised to fatherhood when I became a father to a daughter named Khalifa. Are you following? Yes. But at the same time, my mother was raised to grandmotherhood when my daughter was born, called Khalifa. Are you following me? Which means everybody was raised at the same time by the child. But the child became daughter and granddaughter because she has meaning inside of the communal context of other people. The highest form of my beingness is not the fact that I'm here, but the fact that we exist. Is this making sense? Right? That's the highest order of being. So it is not look at what I have done. The issue is, who are we? My grandmother would come to the house and say, us. When he has to use us? Yes. Us gonna cook some soup tonight. Now, who is the us you talking about? She didn't say, I'm gonna cook or we are gonna cook. She said what? Us is gonna cook some soup tonight. Which means that right now, if you in the bed and I came here, you got to get up because us about to have a conversation about something. The idea identity is their prevention. We know that certain things prevent things. So men who have programs that allow them to be able to be engaged. That's why the martial art program is so important. The brother had people out there, they were kicking. I was ready to do some stuff myself. I'm ready to kick and do some right because that is a part of manhood agency, but also the children have somebody to look up to. So it is preventing certain things, and the major preventative prophylactic from racism is the collective identity or involvement of adults in children's lives. Did y'all get that? Let me stop. Racism is going to happen. The prophylactic, the way to protect people from that, is having programs like this. That's right. Mm-hmm. Racial socialization is a protection from the things that are coming from the outside. Remember I said, of the children, well, that is a part of the exterior. When you socialize a child to understand that racism exists, you have now prepared them for a phenomenon, but also you tell them that this is who you are. You come from a legacy of greatness. So when racism comes, it's like, okay, I got that being, but it's not me. When my youngest daughter was in middle school, about 6 years ago in Florida, she texted me one day and she says, Daddy, look at this. And the text was, it said, Black Africans have no history. Okay, and then another day or two later, she shared something with me about pyramids built by aliens. And she put LOL, right? Every country put LOL. And then she said, Daddy, my teacher just told me that, text me, that Adolf Hitler did not go into Africa to take anything because Africa had nothing of value for Europeans to take. LOL. Right? Now, I want you to catch the fact that here is a girl in the 6th grade who says LOL to something that is damaging to the psyche of some people. But how could she laugh at that? Because she came from parents who says Commissions built pyramids, right? So when she saw this, like, cling, nope, not true. That she understood the Gold Coast was where the wealth of the United States came from. That was in Ghana. Ding, nope, not true. She also knew that tantalite, or coltan, is the metal inside of the cell phone. And that metal is primarily mined in the Congo. Therefore, it has to be wealthy to somebody. Thing not true. The question is, how many of the children in the classroom didn't have a prophylactic and they just went into their psyche and became who they were? And it poisons them for perpetuity. Racial socialization is critical to the process of securing the safety of our children. Do not be afraid to have the hard conversations. The hard ones about what does Make America Great Again really mean? What does it mean to you and your legacy? Who you are. And it's not a racist conversation. It's an issue about racism, but it's not racist. It's not about hate. I have to love you enough to protect you from that which will hurt you. Is this making sense? So what is that? Self-mastery. When men are given opportunity to have self-mastery, there's greater health and wealth. We must identify the things. 1 minute, Brother Baye, and I'm done. I see you standing there. I am done. Oppression, economic deprivation, racism, sexism, genocide are things that block us. Are the things that the function of these things in our lives is to become. We live with the fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of the unknown. We live with a whole lot of fear. But what we can't do. Have you ever been around some people and they start talking about, and they start whispering, and there's nobody but you in there? That's trauma, right? You know, what you whispering for? Right? You want to call it out for what it is, right? You can use your code name if you want to, whatever your code name is. But whispering is an indices of trauma. Because they might come and get us. Well, you know, they don't. Right? It's just you. They don't like you know. Right? Fear. The spirit of lack. If only procrastination. Right? Those things are there. The Bantu says our greatest responsibility is to untie the knots that have been tied. They call them makolo. We must untie the knots. Either some we tie in our spirit, ourselves, or been tied before us. We must untie them. The Bantu talk about how we do that. We do that by understanding certain things, our historical legacy. We understand that we draw particular substance from the earth to be able to heal the body. We also draw from the spiritual realm to be able to heal the mind. And then all of this begins to function and begins to allow us to move in the universe with power, with verb, with essence, right? And so one of the things that we tend not to do is that we tend not to honor our ancestors. But every time you pull out a dollar bill, you have a European ancestor on it. That's right. So you are honoring somebody's ancestor. Why not stop and honor your own? Well, we don't have time, man. And I said, yeah, you do. You do it all the time. You cannot buy something. Just today, when they asked for the $100 bill, who was on the $100 bill? It was a man called what? Benjamin? Somebody gave a 50. On that 50 was what image was that? Some of the crack. Man say Grant just like that. On that 20 was Jackson. On that 5, Lincoln. Watch it. Yet you can't stop and honor your ancestors. That's called black identity extremism. Yet you are infusing me every single day to honor those who oppressed my ancestors. Oh, we got an issue. They say that honor, respect that which came before you. And so, in closing, that they said that we are a trifold being. I want you to recognize this, a trifold being, that there's a threeness inside of us, that we are not only here, but we are the future, and we also are the past. If you think about it like this, every female that is born all the eggs that she will ever carry in her entire life. Every female that is born all the eggs she will ever carry, which means then that a woman who gives birth to a female child gave birth to her grandchildren at the same time. That's So when I see one woman, I can't see just one woman. I have to see actually four at the same time because her existence predates her actual physical movement in the space. So therefore, there sometimes is a greater relationship between the granddaughter and the grandmother than the mother because the grandmother is the one that infused the eggs inside of the mother that became the grandchild. Y'all got to catch that. That whatever the grandmother was doing here began to infuse the grandchild. So you can't correct some things in one generation. You got to understand that if you were right now, right here, that every woman in here, and you're going to have a child, that you were impacted not tomorrow, but you impacted that which you probably would never see down the line. Well, let me say it this way. Epigenesis suggests to us that mice have the capacity to inherit trauma. There was a study done by Diaz and Resler. So Diaz and Resler said that if you look at the mice, you will find that the mice can have a whiff of the orange blossom, and the orange blossom will be paired with a shock. And so every time they smelled the orange blossom, they knew the shock was coming. So they would just get the orange blossom sometimes, and not the shock, and the bodies would get tightened up. These mice would have pups. These pups would grow up, and they would have them to get the whiff of the orange blossom. And what would happen is that these mice would get the whiff of the orange blossom, but they would never shock, and their bodies would begin to tense up when they smelled the orange blossom. But these pups had pups, and these pups began to do the same thing. They would get the smell of the orange blossom, and when they smelled the orange blossom, though they never were shocked, they would begin to tense up. That it was passed down in the genetic code of the trauma of the grandparents. Are you following what I'm saying? Some things that are happening in the present are a function of transmitted trauma from the past, from generations, not simply the one before, but the one before that. You want to talk about doing some healing. That's why genealogies are so important. So anyway, 3 generations existing at one time, and that they say, the Baptists say that we must understand that we're moving in 7 directions, that we move inward to heal, we move rightward towards belonging, we move forward towards beholding, we move downward towards being, we move leftward towards becoming, we move backwards toward being, right, discover the collective identity, and upwards towards the idea of understanding creativity and dreams. Now, you say, well, this is something that's done over in the Congo. But let me ask you this question right here. What's the one dance that's done at every family reunion? Electric slide. I don't care which one, right? Electric slide. Now, watch the electric slide. Can you help me out? What am I? Did you see that? 7 distinct directions. That's one dance you can do with nobody else. You can just hey, do it right? Why are we doing it at the particular family reunion? Because maybe we are engaged in an ancestral memory moment. It is a healing moment. It is a healing ritual. It is a ritual of empowerment. When you recognize that you are moving in 7 directions at one time. The song says, I turn my head to the east, nobody by my side. I turn their head to the west, right? It's the same conversation. All my homies have gone and died. It's the same conversation. We already know that we're moving all these directions. What do we have to do? Practical things. First of all, see that what you desire to happen in the world. Seeing is believing, but also believing is seeing. See the positive outcome of an event. Imagine and envision and rehearse it. It's not going to just happen by chance, right? Somehow we want something to happen. When you see that what you desire, you're able to execute a task better. How many times you told somebody something, you said that they said, well, you know, I can't see that. You can have an idea with, oh, I can't see that. They're blind. Your job is not to get them to see that what you believe. Your job is to believe that what you have seen and live like you know the truth of what it is that's happening. You spend a whole lot of time trying to tell somebody blind what to see because they don't want to see it. But they will begin to see it when it manifests in your life, right? The mind responds to the vision and the actual in the same manner. If I have you all to close your eyes and imagine that you're on the edge of a cliff, your body will begin to respond like you're on the edge of a cliff and you're not. You sit in this chair. Whatever you are feeding your mind your behind is going to follow. Whatever you're feeding your mind, your behind is going to follow. Rise in the morning and give thanks for the day. In the midday, choose to act towards someone that you meet with respect, with friendship, ubuntu. At the end, forgive yourself for making mistakes or any thoughts that have been out of order. Then get back in order with the universe. These are very basic things that can be done. The healing of the trauma within African people comes first when we acknowledge that there are elements of trauma in our space. The trauma comes from moments of racism, oppression, denigration. The damage of these come in when we begin to believe them to be true, that we believe ourselves to be niggas. Can never be another nigga. Well, we said it's not the same as nigger. Well, the word nigger is a derogatory word coming from the word negro. Negro is what Europeans used, taken from the word negra, Spanish meaning black. Negra comes from what the Portuguese called necro, meaning death. Therefore, when you honor the nigga, you're honoring the death of blackness in your life. Some say, well, if you look at Najir, NGR means a God, a substance. Yes, that may be true. You can have a lot of words that are spelled alike, but don't mean the same thing. The creation of nigger was to create a dehumanized entity. We must never believe in our dehumanization. We must recognize that we come from the strongest people on the face of the planet. Close by saying, we must recognize that we are a seed of 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 the seed. When you recognize that, nothing in the world can ever stop you. Ashe.
That was so good. Did y'all enjoy that?
Yes.
Amazing, amazing presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So before I bring up Brother Umar Bey, I would like to remind you guys, vendors outside, make sure you check them out. Make sure you stay. We have food. Don't leave here and not get a plate. We have a lot of food, enough for everybody. So make sure you support the vendors. We have so many people outside that have shared their gifts, their talents. Not only that, things that they've created, businesses they started. So make sure you come and support. All right. Without further ado, I would like to bring my brother up, Brother Dr. Umar Bey.
All right.
Y'all give it up for Brother Bey. So I work for this guy right here. This is the guy I work for right here. This.
The boss.
All right.
Who's the boss?
I've already got it.
Who's the boss?
All right, I'm gonna be very brief. It's been a wonderful evening. Brother Mawata. Mawata, awesome. How the presentation was awesome. So, we're here tonight. We're gonna come real quick in here. Let me help us bring in because I saw the dance troupe here. We're about to have fun later on here, so let's quickly gonna bring this to a close here. We're about to have some fun. So I'd like to make a presentation to my brother. It's from Shreveport, right?
That's right.
And we all came from Africa, right?
That's right.
But you understand that the original people in Louisiana didn't come on a boat from Africa. We always been here. Okay. The original Washoe people. You brother Kevin Washington? Cato, right? You down here in Baton Rouge on the bluff. Southern University, okay? And of course, we're gonna award you this great gift here. But I'll let you know that the people here in Baton Rouge, you go into true history, you'll find evidence of the oldest people in the United States right here on the bluff. What they call Monte Sano Bayou. some of the untold history is people, if you're from Baton Rouge, you're part of the oldest people in the world. The original pyramid builders were right here in Louisiana. They call them Indian mounds, understand that? So we're talking about 8 to 10,000 years ago, you had people right here on the bluff living.
That's right.
Well, you have Baton Rouge Airport, giant palace. Southern University, all the way down to LSU campus, was inhabited by people of color 8,000 years ago. And we're still here. Okay. So, brother, we're going to give you a present here. Even though we understand you're not a Southernite, so we got you some black and gold for your Grambling University. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your great presentation. There you are. So, family, she said, don't leave. We got food coming. We got dance coming. But to celebrate, children, this is all about you. Children, Kwanzaa is about you. Okay. We have to show you your culture to help you to love yourself, okay? Everybody say, I love myself. Say, I love myself better than I love myself. All right, good night.
Yes, indeed. Brother Kyrie, what high school you went to?
Huntington?
You went to Huntington? I graduated from Fair Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
I forgive you.
Hey, I just moved down.
Give it away, that's all right.
I just moved down there from Chicago, so I only went there my senior year.
That was our rival,
All right, that's Shreveport talk. I'm sorry.
Yep, indeed.
Yes, indeed. So now, do I have any announcements, Brother Baye? Zawadi? Okay. All right. So I would like to bring up my Carmel Baptist Church and Baton Rouge Girl Scouts. They're going to give the explanations of Zawadi. Y'all put your hands together. Barigani. Kwanzaa gifts, Zawadi. We can promote and teach principles of Kwanzaa through the act of gift, Zawadi. Giving and via the selection of the gift. Muala, Krenga. The creator of Kwanzaa provides basic guidelines for giving of gifts. On the last day of Kwanzaa, the main guidelines are: children are the main recipient of Kwanzaa gifts. Gifts are given as acknowledgments of commitments made and kept. Gifts are not mandatory nor excessive. Karenga states that Kwanzaa gifts should include 2 items: a book and a heritage symbol, and that those gifts should never serve as a substitution for love, attention, and involvement with a child. So right now, we will have the presentations of the Zawadi. So we're going to start with our youngest. So children ages babies to 7 years old, come right over here to the Zawadi table and get your Zawadi. Babies to age 7, come right over here to get your Zawadis. No running, take your time. Take your time. All right. So once this area clears, everybody's coming. running, no running. Everybody will get a chance to get a zawadi. Take your time. No cutting line either. I see y'all. I love that sound. All right, we will now have 15 to 18. 15 to 18. Please come get your zawadi. 15 to 18. And right now, all of my big kids, adults, they are going to bring your zawadis to you. So if you would like a zawadi, please raise your hand and you will get one. Oh, got a lot of hands. Hey, everybody loves yes. Zawadis, yes. I still see a few hands towards the back for Zawadi. I see Erica. Will be the part of an announcements, but right now we don't have any. So I'm going to take this moment to share something with you really quick before our dancers come. Y'all with me? All right. Along with my shea butter, Pachet's butter souffle, I'm also, first and foremost, I'm a poet. I'm a spoken word artist. I've been doing it for a really long time, for about 25 years. And I've been blessed to be on a lot of stages and platforms to open up for a lot of great people. And I just want to share a short piece with you in this moment, right before we bring our dancers. And this piece is called Rejected Stone. Y'all with me? All right. The history of his story inherited discrepancies without remedies to unveil the truth. So-called solutions were like badly adhered bandages with wounds commanding to be healed. Filled with contradictory animosity led curiosity to outweigh hypocrisy and demand change. A change to make a dream come true. Due diligence has made us resilient people, defiantly brilliant, and in some cases, brave enough to stand alone. We are the rejected stone. Our beauty was never marveled over like intricate details of marble, but our powerful determination to live made us hard to kill. The will to keep our foundation strong. We sing songs ringing out, reminding us of our homelands. Hand in hand, black woman, black man. We are the cornerstone in which America stands. That's Rejected Stone. Thank you. So, right now, it's gonna be, I'm telling you, I'm so glad that everybody has these instruments because you are going to participate to the fullest with this amazing group. They bless us every single time they come. So I don't know about you guys, but I need for you guys to get some movement on because you are going to dance, and we want you to dance. And I want to bring to you our last cultural expression, our second family, Kabuka Dance Troupe, all the way from New Orleans, Louisiana. Y'all put y'all Kabuka Dance Troupe, all the way from New Orleans, Louisiana. Y'all put y'all hands together. Get y'all instruments ready, because it's about to go down. There we go.
Kwanzaa, Kwanzaa, celebrate Kwanzaa. Why don't you celebrate, celebrate, celebrate Kwanzaa? Umoja, umoja, celebrate umoja. I can't hear y'all. Kujichagulia, kujichagulia. Ujima, ujima, celebrate ujima. Ujima, ujima, celebrate ujima. Nina kukumba imani, celebrate. All right. Y'all know your Eagles and Saba, huh? you all because we are family, right? But what's important about this moment is that we just don't come together at this time, y'all. I say the same message every year. This Iguza Samba was meant to be practiced throughout the entire year. It's a good thing that we do come together as one. But what happens when this day is over? What happens when you see your sister or your brother on the street? The one who's less fortunate, you walk right past them saying, they could have did better. We don't know everybody's story. We don't know their truth. We don't know everybody's story. So at this time, we'd like to evoke the energy of the divine to set the atmosphere. Because in these times, the end of the solstice and going into 2019, there's a lot of static, negative energy in the atmosphere. And if you're not grounded, you will find yourself being pulled along with it. So in an effort to make sure that we solidify our connection, not just to the Creator, but to our Egu, to our ancestors. Because when we deal with that, then we shall not be moved, right? So we're going to evoke the energy of Dambala. Is anybody here familiar with Dambala? Oh, all right, I got to explain it to y'all then. Bad Rouge is coming up, huh? All right. So we're going to evoke the energy of Dambala to remind everyone to not be swayed by your emotions. It is very important that you not allow yourself to be moved by all what's going on around you. Tap into the divine inside of yourself, and life will be at peace.
I say.
energy that cradles us all. That energy that, regardless as to what, is the one who will love you no matter what. So we thought it was important this year to make sure that you understand that Africa, when you talk about diasporatic Africa, it's not just the continent of Africa. It is all of the places where Africans have been dropped off. And even more importantly, not dropped off. It was already there before they got dropped off. We're not saying that the transatlantic slave trade did not happen. It did happen. But there was a bunch of indigenous people of color already in the Americas before that happened. So it's important to acknowledge that. So you guys were very good. I want you can tell us a hand for being so attentive. You were really good. Let's hear it for my dancers. They were real awesome. Portia and Kelly. And you probably know that the guest speaker was going to play the drum with us. But we're going to take him back to New Orleans with us, right? So now comes the part where you guys get to participate. I know y'all ready. Y'all been practicing all year, right? Or I already know, right? So at this point, we're going to